everybody! Today I have with me a wind synthesizer or electronic wind instrument. This one is from Robkoo, the model is R1, and they did send it to me for free asking if I wouldn't mind making a review video of this instrument. And I agreed as long as I could give my honest thoughts and opinions about it. And in regards to that, while I do consider myself a fairly experienced woodwind player, I have little to no experience with electronic wind instruments of any kind, so please keep that in mind when listening to my review. So to start with, I really love how this instrument looks. I think its look is really sleek and streamlined, and there's panels along the side that light up different colors when you play, which is kind of fun. But what I love most about the design is how lightweight it is. In addition to it being lightweight, there is a thumb rest in the back, as well as a hook for a neck strap, and they do send a neck strap with the instrument, which is great. And for somebody like me that literally has no idea what to do with this, it was super easy to start. Pretty much, there's a power button right here. I just push the power button, hold it on, the display turns on, I plug my headphones in right here, and I started blowing into the mouthpiece and it made sounds. I was really excited, kind of like a little kid. But if you don't want to plug your headphones in, it does have a port for USB-C as well as a 1/4-inch jack, and it's Bluetooth friendly. So yay for options, right? And then once I initially made a sound, I really didn't know what else to do. So it does come with a manual, and there's about 15 minutes worth of tutorial videos online as well. So I started reading through the manual, cruising around on those videos, got a better idea of how to use the instrument, and then I started experimenting. So once I was able to get around the instrument just a little bit better, the first thing I did was I went into the settings and I found the sound bank and I started experimenting with the sounds that were programmed right into the R1. Now, some of the sounds are better than others, but the ones that I was most interested in were the ones of the traditional Chinese instruments. They have some wind, some string, and they even have a percussion option, which was kind of cool to play with. Now, the second thing I did was I started experimenting with mouthpieces. I believe when you buy the R1, it only comes with one mouthpiece, but they sent me all three options to try. So this first one right here is, I think they call it the hard mouthpiece. Basically, it's there's no give to it, and it feels similar to playing a clarinet or saxophone mouthpiece. The second option right here, there's a bit more give to it. So if you want a bit more flexibility when you bite down, this could be an interesting one to try. And then the third one they sent me, they call it the flute mouthpiece. Now I do have some thoughts about this one. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start by changing the mouthpiece. So they come off really easily. And oh, I forgot to mention, they do come with mouthpiece caps as well, which I love. And they also go right back on easily. This is the flute mouthpiece, and there you go, it's a horizontal instrument. Now the issue I have with the flute mouthpiece is actually not with the mouthpiece at all. The mouthpiece feels fine. I just really feel like this instrument was designed to be a vertical playing instrument. So when I go to play it as a flute, some of the functions feel a little bit more awkward. Mostly in the thumbs. So there's a pitch bend wheel right here next to the thumb rest, and it just feels a little bit funkier to use when I'm playing this as a flute. And then there's 3 octave keys, 2 that go up the octave, 1 that goes down the octave. The 2 that go up the octave, those actually feel okay, but the 1 that goes down the octave, it kind of puts my thumb in a weird position, and I don't like how my wrist and my hand feels. And I probably wouldn't want to stay in that position for a long period of time. But that could just be me. I mean, if you're used to playing flute and you'd rather play an electronic wind instrument that's horizontal, I mean, it could just take a little bit of getting used to and you'd be fine. So next I want to go ahead and talk about the key work on this instrument. There are 7 touch sensitive keys in the front, 2 pinky keys right here that move your notes up and down a half step, and they are not touch sensitive. There's also a pitch bend wheel back here, and then the 3 octave keys, which of course I already mentioned all these thumb keys. Now, the one thing about this instrument is I really do wish that all of the keys were either touch sensitive or not touch sensitive. Especially these pinky keys right here, they're really stiff, at least to my preference. Maybe if they were a little bit easier to press down, that would be sufficient. But I was finding that these front keys, you're not pressing, right? You just have to touch them very lightly. And anytime I would go to use these pinky keys, I would touch them, I would not press them, and my pitch would go nowhere. So I could probably get used to it, but it's just, I don't love it. I do wish that that was different. The other thing about the keys is that if you don't like the fingerings that are programmed into the instrument, you can change the fingerings to whatever you want. So I think that's pretty cool. So the final thing I want to talk about has actually nothing to do with the physical instrument itself. There's an app called Jamkoo that you can download that pairs with this instrument, and there are extra functions on there. There are some additional sounds, there's some play-alongs, tutorials, there's a chat or sharing video feed of some sort. Now, the one thing about that app is while there are some functions that are available in English, there are some that are either primarily or entirely only available in Chinese. Like the feed that I was just kind of mentioning, I don't actually know what they're discussing on there because it's all in Chinese. And I do hope that moving forward, they do make the app available in more languages so that it's more accessible to more people. But on the app, they do have these play-alongs that I just mentioned, and I do think those are pretty cool because they do actually come with the sheet music with like a little dash that will keep track of where you are in the track on the sheet music to help you, read and learn the songs, which is kind of neat. The problem with it is that all of the music is in traditional Chinese notation. So if you haven't seen what that looks like before, let me show you. This is just a book I have. So looks like that, numbers, dots, dashes. So if you haven't studied traditional Chinese instruments, that function might not be accessible to you. And I really hope that moving forward, they do decide to make that sheet music available in treble and bass clef, just so that it's accessible to a lot more people. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and play a little melody for you using the Xun sound. It's spelled X-U-N. So now that you've heard the R1 in action, I do have a few final thoughts to share. Now, the first one is probably just me oversharing. The reason I picked that melody was because I wanted to get used to using the octave key mechanism, and that melody forced me to go up and down the octave. So it was just good practice for me. The second thing is the vibrato that you heard, that vibrato was actually programmed into the sound on this instrument. And I don't think all of the sounds have that, but this one did. And I do wish that there was an option for that sound with no vibrato because the instrument is sensitive enough that I could create my own. Now, I do know that for somebody who maybe has little to no experience playing a wind instrument, having the option to have that vibrato programmed in, that it just kicks in automatically, could actually be pretty cool. But for me, like I said, I just wish that I had the option to play without that vibrato, mostly because as I was learning this melody, and it's a little bit of a slower melody, sometimes the vibrato would kick on right before I was about to change a note, and it just didn't sound great. And so I was actually having to adapt how I was playing the melody to accommodate the vibrato to make sure that it came in or didn't come in when I wanted it to. So that was just a little bit extra added frustration for me, but it is what it is, right? This is not a replacement for a wind or string instrument, but it's not supposed to. It's a completely different beast unto itself, right? So if you are interested in learning more about Robkoo or the R1, I'm going to go ahead and put a link in the description below. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.